Welcome to another one of my videos. This will be a teaching video, kind of. I'm going to do a watercolor painting of some aspen trees in the winter time. And I think it'll be fun to watch and might pick up a few things if you want to do a watercolor painting. I always start these videos out, or try to anyway, with some comic relief. Me wandering through the place that I'm actually going to paint something from. I get out and I've lived in the West, and so I paint Western things, and you can tell this is a really beautiful spot. And I wandered around and found something really nice to paint. A photograph of a lot of aspen trees, and I'll be weeding out some of the trees for my painting, but I want to really capture this crowd idea. There I am, quickly drawing lines. I took a photograph that was a pretty good design. Now I'm just gonna get right into it. I know, not what you thought probably. I've got some hot press watercolor paper here that's got a real hard surface on it. So I just get right after it. And then I'll lift a lot of paint off, as you'll be seeing here in a minute. I've come to like this watercolor technique. Just smear it around, smear it around. What I'm going to try and really capture today is the feeling of standing in those aspens that... if you've ever had the pleasure, the opportunity to stand in those trees, it's almost like you're in a group of not quite humans, but other beings. They all have those kind of knothole branch leftover places that look like eyes, and they're looking at you. Their bark is kind of a real eerie skin tone, really. It's got the underlying greens that our skin kind of has that nobody thinks about. So whenever I'm out in the aspens, I feel like, you feel like you're in a crowd. You feel like you're standing in a place where there's a gathering of some kind. And that's what I'm trying to capture here in a design that's going to be strong, pleasing to look at, and then the atmosphere of those trees. Now you can see I'm pulling that paint back off, like I told you I would be. You can see what's happening up at the top of these trees. I'm really just dragging color down into the trees now. And then I'll start just putting clear water onto the trees, cleaning up a few little spots here and there. And you see I'm just keeping it wet so it doesn't dry out and get difficult. Keeping all these trees wet so I can just keep lifting that paint off, get back to that aspen tree look. I'll show you. I think there's a couple trees I forgot over there on the left-hand side. I'm gonna have to get some color in my brush and go back after them. In the meantime, I gotta keep all these other ones wet. There we go. You can see at the top of these trees how it's coming off now, and you can start to envision how the trees will all be white again. Now I think I'll keep pulling it off. I don't go all the way down because obviously then I get a place where my drip is going to run into the snow. Just little technical problems. And pick it back up. Keep going. Now I'm going to get some paint in my brush and go back up to these ones that I sort of forgot about. I have to put paint back on them so that it ends up looking the same again. So I'm just going to let that sit now for a minute, and then I'll drag the paint off of them like I'm doing with these other ones. And I'm not gonna show everything. I don't want to bore you too much with this process, but you get the idea of what I'm doing here. I'm just leaving that wash in the background alone completely. It's just going to look like natural color back there for the side of the hill where some other trees are growing. Here I'm lifting those new ones off. And then I'm going to jump ahead to where you can see that I'm finished with lifting all that color off. And then I'll start putting some, up in the left-hand corner, there was a little mess, so I put some Chinese white over it. And then so that doesn't stand out in the texture of the white, I go ahead and just put some Chinese white in on all the rest of the white. Kind of block it in so it has some texture. Let the paper come through still, but just give it an interesting look like I was trying to do that. A lot of times you have to make a mistake look like it's what you're trying to do. And I started in on this already. As you can see, now you can see how I'm doing it. I just really stay loose. I try to keep the entire painting to have a feel that it's all painted in exactly the same way. In design, they call that unity. There I'm flashing out so you can see what I painted there. Those front trees, I tried to kind of approximate where those seeing eyes are on the trunks. And you can see now too how I've weeded out most of those saplings just to give myself a stronger design. And I like what's happening. I feel like I'm standing. Those trees are standing and they're waiting. I like how aspen trees feel like the winter's on and they're just patiently waiting. Waiting. Waiting is an old word that Americans, and I include myself in that, we don't like that word too much anymore. But historically, it's been an important part of life. Anybody who lived in a winter climate had to work like crazy all summer and then wait out the winter. Sometimes I think you got to pay attention. Don't want to overwork things, so I pause a little bit. I try to give these trees a little bit of a edge that's not so straight. When I put those lines on, it makes them look a little more crookedy. And I'll just throw some of those saplings back in just to give a suggestion of what it really is, even though I've pared it back for the sake of the painting. And wash it down just a little bit with some just water in the brush. Not much, just soften some edges again. And then this painting is about done, I think. Yeah. There's me. Put that mark on there and look around at the painting. See how successful we were at getting the feeling. That's what I'm usually mostly concerned with in my paintings. I like that. They all have a personality. It looks like a large group of the same type of trees, but they all have their own personality, which is what happens when you get out among a grove of aspen trees. They're like a big family, and each one has their own personality, depending on a lot of different things. There's that background that I just left. You can see the technique of pulling that water off gives the trees kind of a round feeling. There's an edge. Pretty successful. It's a quiet painting. Quiet painting portraying a pretty good sense of patience, like I was talking about with the waiting. Put that up on your wall and you'd always be reminded how nice patience is. Aspen trees. And I'll flash back to my photograph and I'll overlay it here so you can see we stayed pretty true to the original photograph, even though it's obviously a simplified impression, but I think we did pretty well. And I'll show you walking back to the car, proof that I'm out in these places, and get the feeling in person. When you walk in snowshoes, you always look like kind of a goofball because you have to make such big steps, keep from tripping over yourself. Thanks for watching again. Tune in again, I'll be doing some more stuff. Check out my website, Mahoney Art, and see my other crazy stuff. Thanks again.